The worst time to learn how life insurance works is after somebody dies. And I know that sounds heavy, but it is the truth. Coming from the claim side of the life insurance industry, I have seen what happens when families are grieving, confused, overwhelmed, and trying to figure out paperwork all at the same time. And that is one of the biggest reasons I talk about this now. Because life insurance is not just about getting approved. It is not just about saying, I have a policy. It is not just about checking a box and moving on. Life insurance matters most when somebody passes away and the people left behind are trying to figure out what happens next. And by that point, there is no more time to clean things up. There is no more time to ask questions. There is no more time to say, I meant to update that. There's no more time to say, I thought my family knew. That is why I want to have this conversation before the emergency, because a policy is only as helpful as the planning behind it. Let me be clear. I am not saying this to scare anybody. I am saying this because too many people wait until life forces the conversation. And when life forces the conversation, the family is usually already hurting. They're trying to plan a funeral. They're trying to figure out bills. They're trying to call employers, banks, insurance companies, funeral homes, and family members. And on top of all of that, they're trying to find out if there was life insurance. That is a lot. And sometimes the hardest part is not even the claim itself. Sometimes the hardest part is watching a family realize they do not know what exists. They do not know where the policy is. They do not know who the beneficiary is. They do not know whether the policy is still active. They do not know whether the coverage was through work or privately held. They do not know whether the person who passed away was ever updating anything. And when grief and paperwork collide, confusion can make everything feel worse. That is why one of the first things I want people to understand is this. Having life insurance and having a plan are not always the same thing. You can have a policy and still leave confusion behind. You can have coverage and have the wrong person listed as beneficiary. You can have life insurance through your job and not realize that it may not follow you forever. You can buy a policy years ago and never check whether it still fits your life today. You can mean well and still leave your family with questions. And I do not want people to hear that as judgment. I want people to hear that as a wake-up call, because most people are not careless. Most people are just busy. They are working. They are raising families. They're helping their relatives. They are trying to survive inflation, because that's pretty rough right now. They're trying to handle debt, rent, mortgages, groceries, medical bills, and everything else that life throws at them. So life insurance becomes one of those things that people just put off. They say, I will handle it later. They say, I am still young. They say, I have something through work. They say, my family will figure it out. But that last one is dangerous. Your family should not have to guess what you meant. If you take nothing else from this video, take this. Life insurance is not really for the person who dies. It is for the people who have to keep living. It is for the spouse who still has bills. It is for the children who still need support. It is for the parent who may be responsible for your burial costs. It is for the partner who shared a life with you. It is for the family member who steps in when everything falls apart. It is for the people who may be grieving but still have to make financial decisions immediately. That is why the setup matters. The beneficiary matters. The policy type matters. The ownership matters. The premiums matter. The amount of coverage matters. And most importantly, communication matters. You must set your people up for success, because life insurance should not be a mystery. Now, I want to talk about something that people do not always think about. A life insurance policy is a contract. That means the insurance company is going to follow the contract, not what somebody thought, not what somebody assumed, and not what somebody wished happened. The contract matters. The beneficiary designation matters. The policy status matters. The details on that policy matter. So if someone says, I wanted my spouse to get it, but the beneficiary form says something else, that can be a problem. If someone says, I thought I still had coverage, but the policy lapsed, that can become a problem. If someone says, I thought my job coverage was enough, but they left that job or retired or lost access to that benefit, that can become a problem. This is why I always say, do not just buy life insurance. Understand what you own. And this is especially important in communities where financial conversations have not always been encouraged. A lot of us were taught to survive, not necessarily to plan. A lot of families did not sit around the table talking about policies, beneficiaries, estate planning, final expenses, income replacement, or legacy. Sometimes the only conversation people had about life insurance was after somebody passed away, and then everybody was trying to pull money together. Somebody started a fundraiser. Somebody asked relatives to help. Somebody put funeral expenses on a credit card. Somebody took on the emotional and financial weight because there was no plan in place. And I want to say this carefully. There is no shame in a family helping each other. That is love, the definition of it actually. But love should not have to become the entire financial plan. Life insurance is one way to make sure the people you care about are not left trying to figure everything out from scratch. And no, everybody does not need the same type of policy. Everybody does not need the same amount of coverage. Everybody does not have the same budget. That is why education matters. For some people, term life may very well make sense and be enough. For some people, permanent coverage may make more sense and will be enough. For some people, final expense coverage may be the priority. For some people, the first step may simply be reviewing what they already have. The goal is not to pressure people into buying something they do not understand. The goal is to help people make informed decisions before life makes the decision for them. So here are a few simple questions I want you to ask yourself. Number 1, do I currently have life insurance? Not I think so. Not maybe through work. Not somebody told me I had something. Do you actually know what coverage you have? Number 2, who is listed as your beneficiary? And is that still the person you want listed today? Because life changes. People get married. People get divorced. People have children. People lose relationships. People build and rebuild relationships. People move on. And sometimes the paperwork does not keep up with real life. Number 3, does your family know where to find the information? I'm not saying everybody needs to know every detail of your finances, but somebody responsible should know that coverage exists and where to start. Number 4, is the coverage enough to do what you expect it to do? If the goal is just burial, that is one conversation. If the goal is income replacement, debt protection, mortgage protection, child support, or legacy planning, that is a different conversation. Number 5, have you reviewed your coverage recently? Because the policy that made sense 5 years ago may not fully match your life today. This is why I create content around life insurance, financial protection, and legacy planning, because I have seen what happens when families are prepared, and I have also seen what happens when families are not prepared. And I would much rather help someone ask the right questions now than watch their family face preventable confusion later. Again, this is not about fear. This is about responsibility. This is about clarity. This is about love with paperwork behind it. Because love is not just what you say. Sometimes love is what you set up. So if you're watching this and you already have life insurance, good. Now review it. Make sure you understand it. Make sure your beneficiary is current. Make sure someone knows where the information is. And make sure the coverage is still matching your life and what you have going on today. And if you do not have coverage yet, do not beat yourself up. Just start the conversation. Learn your options. Ask questions. Compare what is available and make your decision based on your needs, your budget, and the people you care about. I come from the claim side of the life insurance industry, so my perspective is always going to be practical. I am not just thinking about the sale. I am thinking about the data policy has to do its job. And because that is when the planning becomes real. That is when the paperwork matters. That is when the beneficiary matters. That is when the family realizes whether things were clear or confusing. And that is why I say the worst time to learn how life insurance works is after somebody dies. So learn now, review now, ask now, because your family should not have to guess what you meant. If this video helped you, consider subscribing for more practical conversations about life insurance, financial protection, and legacy planning. If you're ready to review your options, get a quote, or schedule a consultation, you'll find those links in the description and on my other platforms. I am Jasmón Clayton. Keep pushing, stay curious, and always move forward.